Well, welcome back, guys, and this is what we're going to do today. And this is an Autpgage set, which made by Autometer, same as Autometer, just a little bit plainer than Autometer. And I got the 2 5/8 size because I'm old and I'm blind, and it's easier for me to see the bigger ones. All right, what I did, since we know we're going to need about a 1/2 inch hole for that nut right there. So I just went 9/16, and so I just put a piece of tape on my step so that I don't make the hole bigger than it needs to be. That's how you do that. The first thing you're going to have to do, since we got the hole drilled, is we're going to take these out of the bracket because we need to mount the bracket first, okay, with the gauges out, because we're going to have to drill some holes or zip tie or do whatever it is that we decide we want to do. But here's something I wanted to show you about these lights. See, these lights are self-grounded. There's no ground wire for these lights, and you can bundle these together and run one lead and pop it off of the power for the light supply for the dash. But I would suggest either running an extra ground from, say, like the center here to a ground source, or grounding, putting a lead in between here and the dash, something metal to ground it. So just to make sure, always when in doubt, use a ground, okay? So if it's not showing anything, it's just relying on that to ground it, then we should be good. Or relying on this to ground it. Let's just make sure that nothing gets fried. Just be careful. Extra grounds is always a good idea. Easiest way I found to mount these is to take a marker and mark their slots inside of that bracket. So mark that, center punch it with the center punch, drill it with a smaller drill, and use machine screws to mount it. Now, those little screws that come with the mounting bracket are junk, okay? They're just little bitty things, and they're just thrown in the package just for help. Use some good solid, a little oversized self-tappers. It'll last you forever. All right, this is basically everything that comes along with the kit. You're going to take the 3 gauges, your backing bars, your tube, which I know everybody's going to say, don't use the plastic tube. Well, I'm sorry, I'm using the plastic tube. Your fittings, your light fixtures, your barrel clips for the plastic tube, which I know you guys hate. Piece of rubber hose. I'll show you what that's for in a little while. Center punch, drill bit, marker, and your instructions. Before you do anything else, I want you to put connectors onto your light sources for your gauges. All right, so it's always a lot easier to do it on the bench before you put them in there, so you're not on your belly or on your back being uncomfortable putting these on. The other thing is everything gets heat wrap on it. So these are ready to go. I'll make a pigtail to connect those 3 to one source off the dash lights. So that'll be done. The other thing I always do is that all the manufacturers of gauges, they don't put an extra ground on them. They consider the brackets you're mounting it to as your ground to your chassis. I disagree. I always make an extra ground wire, and I always use an oversized wire for the ground on gauges, and it's never let me down. Rule of the world: you can never overground your stuff. It'll never hurt your vehicle to put extra grounds here and there or anywhere you can think of. So, but like I said, everything gets heat wrapped, and it's oversized. As you can tell, the size difference way bigger. Okay, now we're going to talk about the 10-pound elephant in the room. We're going to talk about the plastic, guys. And I'm probably going to start another fight. I'm old school. Never had a problem with this stuff. Never burnt the car down. Never got it messed with. Never had a problem. But I'll tell you why. Because I always encapsulate them. This is just an old piece of vacuum hose, and I've already measured it and cut it down to size. This is going to go from the engine. It's going to go actually from the engine through the firewall all the way to the back of the gauge. So whatever vibration is going on with this truck, revving, moving, whatever you want to do, that is a nice, I'll give you a picture of it here. See if I can get it to focus. Well, it ain't gonna focus. Anyways, that is just a beautiful, nice, thick rubber protectant for that. Because that motor is going to move. That motor is going to move around. It's going to rev. It's going to move. So why not protect it all the way on the end, from the engine through the firewall to the gauge for any kind of vibration, any kind of rubbage. This is not your enemy. If you're going to put it in places where you're not going to protect it, where it's going to get abused, this is your enemy. But if you take a little time and use a little ingenuity, you can make this last forever. I had a roll of this, the cheap stuff from the 80s in a car, 9 years. Never had a problem. Oh, I have the plastic gauge run through the rubber, and we're going to go ahead, before we ever get this in, we're going to put this onto the gauge. So for the gauge, you're going to need this piece to go on the gauge, and we're just basically gonna thread it on there, nice and easy, not super tight. We're just gonna take, this is just gonna be hand, it's gonna be a 1/2 inch, and we're just gonna give it just a little bit, not a lot. It doesn't have to be, like I said, these are brass. You gotta be really nice and even with them, okay? Brass, okay. That's the first thing. And we're on the oil pressure gauge. So the first fitting to go on the gauge is actually the piece that's gonna take the ferrule, okay? This is the piece that you need for the ferrule to go inside, all right? And these are designed, let me see if I can get you a shot of this. This is the actual, these are the ferrules. This is what crushes to seal that rubber line, okay? So that has to go in a very specific way. The flat end goes flat into the cup. The concave end goes into the concave end there to crush. Okay, so it's going to sit inside like that. All right, flat end on the back, and that will crush once you put this piece on and tighten it down with the hose in there. That will crush to seal it. Again, you're going to have to be nice and easy on this, okay? So since we have that done, we're going to go here. We're going to put, you put the ferrule on the end of the plastic, just like that. Oh, I did that wrong. See, even I can get off my game. You put the plastic in over the connector, the crush nut. I basically call that the crush nut. Okay, and then you put the ferrule in like that. Then in she goes into the fitting. Now it's really tight, but you can get it in there. Okay, so you see this? You see how that is? All right, so crush nut, plastic. All right, finger tight, because you know we already tightened this one. All right, now that's your connection. All right, that's on the back of the gauge, oil gauge. All right, so now this, I can't remember 7/16 or 3/8. Gotta get a wrench. Always use a wrench. If you got a line wrench, even better. But you can use a regular wrench. 7/16, and we're just going to crush. And this ain't a lot. This ain't a lot of pressure, guys. We're just going to crush so you feel comfortable. You don't have to put steroid jerk on this. Just take it easy, all right? And then, just as simple as we're just going to do, there's your protection. Last thing to do is the volt gauge. While you have it on the bench, you're going to need a negative and a positive connector for that volt gauge to read volts. So while in Rome, while you have it on the bench, and then after all this is said and done, we're going to clean all this up, and all we're going to leave is our connections, and that's basically it. And now we're going to put stuff in the truck. All right, let me give you a little explanation of why I put these in the order they're in, because they don't come in this order. I've kind of moved them around. The oil pressure gauge, I want to make that shot in through the firewall as straight as possible and without as many curves. So I'm going to put this one closest to the hole that's in the firewall, which is right up about in here. Water temperature one, this one's it'll go pretty much anywhere you want it to go. And then there's just wiring involved with this one. So straightest shot, protected as best as possible. This one is easy and manageable to go around. And then this one is just wiring. That's why. And these are the two most important to me anyway. These are the first, when you glance at it, the first one comes into view is the first one you're going to see. Oil pressure is most important. Water temperature is secondary. And if the battery's charging, that's third. So that's my thinking of my placement for the gauges. Hey, since you're here, hit that button, like, share, and subscribe. Have a dark cab where you can't see anything? Easiest thing you can do. So the trick, easiest thing you can do, just put a flashlight towards the hole you're looking at. Get somebody to hold a flashlight or have a place to spot it. And then just look for your light. Huh. Simple enough, huh? Looky there. Look at that. Nice. Very, very nice. And then this one is going to go around here and go into the port here. This is going to bolt in to the fitting in the block. So this is about where this is going to sit. So this is really nice and mendable. So we're going to run it up the frame, past the gear shift linkage, up against the firewall, and back in the hole. And that's all the more we need stick out on that. And then you've seen what this is. This rubber, that's so nice. Okay, so we don't need all that extra line. So we're going to take a good set of dikes, not a crappy set of dikes, but a good set of wire cutters, and a good sharp set of wire cutters will snip that off. No frays, and that ferrule will go right on it. I cut it, and then, I don't know if it'll focus in, but that is just perfectly round, okay? So we're going to take our end. We're going to take our ferrule, and we're going to put it in. Now there's enough tightness on that line for that ferrule to stay on there where you can put it on. Then after that, we tighten this up, and we're done. All right, Teflon tape 101. All right, Teflon tape. When you put the Teflon tape on, you want to wrap it clockwise. All right, you want it to end with the end facing clockwise, this direction. Okay, see it, this direction, because once you start screwing this in, as you can see, I'm pressing on this, it won't unravel and it won't come up and mess things up. So you have to wind it on threads, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, on threads. You need to wind this clockwise. Always clockwise with Teflon tape on threads you want sealed. Now this is a 7/8 piece, okay? The size of this nut is actually 7/8. So, but you're going to have to be really careful. Again, you're dealing with brass, all right? And there's not a lot of room. As far as I like to use the box end on these, but I don't have a lot of choice here. So this is going to be a little delicate, a little difficult to get in. I might have to go socket with this to get this tightened up to where I want it, but this is what you do to get it into the block. I might have to do something a little ticklish on this. The best thing to do is to go ahead and loosen the headers off. Let them tilt up a little bit to get out of our way. That's what we're going to do. This one you can get really tight. There we go. Now we're tight. Okay, header's back on. Tightened up, 7/8. That's a 7/8 nut. Now this, remember, Teflon tape. Again, Teflon tape put on clockwise so that when you're tightening it, it does not unravel off the threads. And it does what it's supposed to do, which is seal that from water. And I believe this one is a 5/8. Yes, it is. And as you can tell, I'm using a line wrench on this one. This one I need to be good. All right. This is going to twist on you a little bit. It's going to twist that wire line, but that's okay. Okay. That one's good and tight. All right. Now we're good. And I got it tucked up where I want it. I got it off the header. We're probably going to drill right about right here. Right about right here. Right here, we're going to drill a self-tapper, and I'm going to put a hold on the frame right here to keep this from bounce around into the suspension. Keep that, but I'm going to put something to hold it in there, and probably something up in there somewhere. Self-tapper with rubberized protection. Self-tapper with rubberized protection. Back into the hole. All done. This is where the kickdown cable is going. Throttle cable, everything out of the way. Nothing rubbing around. I think we're good out here. Now, this part is pretty much the easy part. We're just putting the ends back on it. Just to mount them. Orient them the way we want them. Always remember to use your lock washers on these because they do get a lot of vibration. So you always want to put the lock washer on. Make sure she doesn't back off. Once you set this, you want to forget it. You want them to work, where you don't have any issues. Remember, don't forget your extra ground wire for your cluster. Now it's a 3/8 socket, and you can put the squish on it if you want to, but I've always found that basically finger tight around a good socket is more than enough to keep these in place, especially since you have the lock washers on them. But if you want to, you can put it to it. Now I'm going to use this one on this last little ground strip because I want that ground wire to stay on there appointment, and I want it to have a good connection. Now I'm not sitting in the right position, but this is basically going to be the view I have once they're illuminated and once they're running during the day. So like I said, the most important to me is that oil pressure gauge, and then water temperature and the voltage. She's solid. She ain't going nowhere. She's vibration proof. All the wires are there for the wiring. She's through the hole, and you can tell there's hardly any daylight coming through there, and there really isn't any extra to tuck up. Yeah, we're gonna be fine. Then we'll just find a hot lead for this dash. I know. We're looking for one of those, but we're gonna do a hot leash for the lights to tie in with the dash, and a couple extra grounds. We're good to go. There's a little bit more to it than just hanging gauges. Sometimes there's some little things you can do to help yourself out, but it's not that bad of a job. This was a couple hours, and you'll need some electrical pieces. You'll need a step drill. There's just some little things in there, but it's not that hard. But it's good peace of mind to know that you can monitor everything on that engine at all times. And with nice big gauges, old man eyes, got to have them big gauges. So if you're still here, like, share, and subscribe. Smash that like button. Hit that bell. Tell your friends. Y'all have a great day. It's a great day today, meaning better day tomorrow. Y'all be good.